So before she goes right into her presentation, our co-organizer, Nicole Wilker, is our speaker tonight, and we're very excited to have her talk about imposter phenomenon. I'm not using the right title here, but basically, like, you have it or you can help somebody that does. I mean, that's the concept, and we're really excited that you're here, and I'm really glad you're sharing this. I know we folks feel kind of passionate about this, so now you can go.
All right, back to me. So imposter phenomenon, disclaimer, I am no expert. I'm the expert on feeling it, but so these are just some things I've come across. I've done a lot of reading and I've talked to a lot of different people. So I like to use the word phenomenon. I've come across that recently because to me, imposter syndrome, it sounds like you're sick. And honestly, I don't think any of you are sick. I don't think I'm sick. It's just how I'm feeling. So I like to use the word phenomenon. So that's what I'm going to use today. Feel free to use any word you want. So again, I would like to thank Agile Denver Board for supporting the meetup. I would like to thank Agile Denver North for inviting me. I'd like to thank Marie for reminding me that I did have this talk ready and that I should do it and share it with you all. So thank you for that. So
Voluntold.
Let's get cracking. So everybody in the room, what is imposter phenomenon / syndrome to you? You can shout it out. You can put it in the chat. But what is it? What is it telling you? Very nice. Comparing yourself to others and not feeling good enough.
Oh,
that's
strong. Company made a mistake hiring me. Wow. I'm like, you aren't actually successful in your role. Go ahead, Nicole. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Anybody can. I'm going to lose this window eventually, so it's all good.
Undervaluing my own contributions.
Yeah, all these are strong. All these are strong words, strong emotions, strong feelings. So thank you. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being vulnerable, putting it in the chat and sharing with everybody here. It means a lot. All right, so imposter phenomenon. So again, it's also known as syndrome. It's known as imposterism, fraud, imposter experience. Lots of different words describe it. It's a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. So the words that I pull out of that are you have doubts, you have fear, you have fraud, and you think you don't deserve what you have. I would like to remind you the reason why I'm going with phenomenon is doubt is not a disease. Fraud is not making you sick. It's just how you're feeling. And we feel many things throughout our lives and throughout our day. When the imposter phenomenon was first talked about, written about, described, it was back in 1978. It was by two women. And as of a couple of years ago, about 80% of the population will experience imposter phenomenon. And that doesn't have to take place just at the workplace. It can be organizations you're with. I can honestly say when I joined the board, I felt like the most inexperienced individual compared to the folks that were on there that had done things before me. And I had to buck up and just lean into it. A lot of people will end up attributing their success to luck rather than their abilities or their work ethic. They'll think they're clueless or totally unprepared. Sometimes that could be like being a new manager or being a new parent. You're just overwhelmed and you don't think that you're ready for this. You can be afraid to look dumb. You don't want to ask the question. It could be back in school days. It could be in a PTA meeting. It could be at work. You don't want to possibly show that you don't know something. Some people feel unworthy of the affection that they get from a significant other. And they fear that their partner will discover that they're not actually that great. Hint, you are that great. So sometimes people will self-sabotage themselves. They will make it so that the situation will just end. The job will not go well. The relationship will end. The team that they're on will not like them or not see that their skills are actually there. There's actually, of the research that's been done, there's about 5 different types of imposter syndrome. So as I'm speaking, throw out in the chat if you're feeling that 1, 2, all of these might be speaking to you. And that's okay. Just curious. And if you don't want to raise a hand or you don't want to say what's speaking to you, perfectly fine. So we have the expert. So that's when you do not feel satisfied when you're finishing a task until you actually know every single thing about what you needed to do about that subject. Excess time will be spent searching for the information. It makes it hard to complete your task on time. And then you feel like you're a failure. We have our perfectionists. They experience high levels of anxiety, doubt, and worry, especially when they have set very extreme goals for themselves that they feel that they are unable to achieve. They will focus on areas that they could have done better rather than celebrate their achievements. We have our natural geniuses. I'm super jealous of these folks. So they, during their life, they generally are able to master a skill very easily. Things come easy to them when they're trying to figure something out, whether it's playing an instrument, speaking a language, doing math, playing sports, whatever that might be. And when they get to a point where something is not as easy as it has been all along, they start to feel ashamed and weak. They think that the goal is too hard. And they're learning that everyone needs to struggle to achieve some goal. We have our socialist. So this person prefers to work alone because they are afraid to ask for help. They don't want to reveal a quote unquote incompetence. They might even turn down help just to attempt to prove their self-worth. And then finally, we have our superheroes, which I kindly call our workaholics. And they will just keep working to the point of burnout, to the point of physical and mental well-being being affected, and affect how they can survive in the world. So, all speak to any of you? Yep, all 5. Yeah, gotcha. Mm-hmm. Nice. All right. Awesome. So let's talk about what we can do here. So in the title, we talked about what our allies can do. So not all heroes wear capes. As we talked about, it's 80% of people may feel imposter syndrome. So not everyone feels imposter syndrome all the time. Not all the people who have ever felt imposter syndrome feel it every single minute of the day. So we have the 20 to 30% outside of the folks that do feel the imposter syndrome that can be the ally. Or when you're not feeling it, how do you be an ally? I have 2 camps. So there's different types of allyship. You can be the personal level. You can be a coach. You can be a mentor. You can be a sounding board. And the other side I call just being human. You don't have to have an investment in a person, but you want to be there for this person that you may see in whatever environment within your life, be it in a meeting, be it in a sports team, whatever that is. So I'm going to challenge you, my heroes that are not wearing capes, just to be there before you're needed. Practice what it might look like to be an ally when it's not 100% needed, so you're used to doing it. There's always a moment when somebody needs someone to have their back. So how can you help others that are living through this imposter phenomenon syndrome? So we talked about earlier about what somebody might be feeling. If they're constantly attributing luck to their abilities, what can you do there? Can you remind them of their skills? Can you remind them of what they use to accomplish something without talking down to them, but pointing out that it was more than luck. Perhaps they're feeling clueless or incapable. Are you able to give them an example of what they've done that proves that they were prepared? They did have the skills. They were successful in the thing that they thought they were clueless about. Perhaps someone is afraid to ask the question or look dumb. Can you ask the question for that person in whatever environment that is? Being able to take the brunt of asking the question that maybe somebody thinks is dumb, or maybe others already know, but I bet a lot don't. So can you take that? Just remember that the folks that are currently feeling imposter phenomenon, they feel that they're a fraud. That makes me sad, but I also know that I do it to myself. So what can we do? We can lean into that feeling with them. We can ask them what is making them feel like a fraud. We can help them put the feeling to words so that they can understand it a little better. Be curious. I hear the words you're saying. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? I'm not seeing it. So what is happening that is making you feel that way? Can you provide examples of successes that support their positive contributions? Consider where they are in their career path. Is this a new position? Is this a new team? What is leading to the lack of confidence? What is causing these feelings and reactions? Help them with words of support. They were hired for a reason. They were added to the team due to their skill set. So say it with me. You can keep your thing off. You are not a fraud. Say, I am not a fraud. I am not a fraud. You have done amazing things. So what makes you feel like a fraud? If you're either think about it in your head, think about some things that are causing this to come up for you, or share it in the chat if you're really up for being that vulnerable today. I would love to see it. So lean into that? What is making you a fraud? What is the pattern that's leading to this? What kind of self-doubt are you allowing yourself to have? What kind of negative talk is in that head of yours? What is this leading to you missing some opportunities that are totally there for you? Okay. I want you to remember you're not a fraud, but secondly, all of these thoughts are in your head. They're feelings. They're not true. They're just thoughts that are coming through your head. There was a gal that I used to listen to her podcasts, and she would say, it's just a thought. I don't like broccoli. That's truly just a thought. You might have a physical reaction to it, but as you're saying it, it's just a thought in your head. There's this insidious soundtrack playing, telling you that you can't do something, that you're not worth it. Where's the off button? Let's find that. I offer to you to hear the words that your brain is telling you. Thank you. And please move along. I'm not ready to hear that right now, or I'm not believing what you're saying. So I would like to move on to a different type of thought. Don't allow those thoughts to berate how you're feeling. Don't let those negative thoughts stay. The phrase of, are you allowing them to stay rent-free in your brain? Let's not do that anymore. Let's separate those feelings from fact. Is what you are feeling true? Is it just words that are flowing through your brain? There are times when you do feel stupid, but it happens to everybody. And realize just because you feel stupid, you aren't stupid. Again, a feeling is not a fact. You can feel bad, but you're not bad. You can feel disappointed in how you did something, but you are not a disappointment. So acknowledge the words. Thank you. Please move along. So some things that help you feel like a fraud. What if you don't know something? I'm going to tell you it's okay to not know everything. Be a lifelong learner. Lean into not knowing something. Be able to say, oh, that's interesting. I don't know the answer to that. If you're in a meeting, let me get back to you. If somebody else knows more than you, can you tell me more about that? If you aren't know that you're heading into a situation where you might not know a topic, could you research that? If so, most of us came because it was Agile Denver North. So there's a type of issue called a spike in certain types of applications. That's for a reason. It's a time box to learn something, to research something, to get better at it. I'm going to offer that curiosity keeps you young. You wouldn't believe how old I am. No, I'm just kidding. So develop a healthy response to failure. Henry Ford had a quote that said, failure is only the opportunity to begin again more intelligently. So instead of berating yourself or beating yourself up for failing, or I'll go back to why I don't like the word failure, but do what players on a sports team do and learn how they can be better next time. Remind yourself, I'll do better next time. I'll learn something that I didn't know this time. There's a book on grit, talks about getting better. So see if you've learned, keep track of the things that you actually didn't know, and then make sure that you've gotten better and learned something from them. But also, the flip side of that is you know lots of stuff. I promise. You might not remember it right now. You might forget some things. I'm sure at the end of this talk, I'll remember 8 things that I forgot to tell you all, and that's okay. I'll do better next time, right? One of the things you can do is visualize success. So whatever sort of situation you're going into, do what the professional athletes do. Or I forget what book I read, but it was visualizing success at the end. So spend time before you head into this situation, picturing yourself totally successful, calmly giving your presentation, being able to stand in front of a crowd, being able to play on a sports team. I recently joined Toastmasters, and that had been on my bucket list forever, and I was terrified of what it meant because I hadn't done the research. I hadn't learned what all it meant. It's a very kind group, and they want you to get better. And that was very validating and totally a wonderful, warm feeling. And it just took me so long to get there. Remember to reward yourself, celebrate your successes, break the cycle of continually seeking and then dismissing, validating yourself outside of learning, and pat yourself on the back. Worst case, fake it till you make it. I usually say, I have a friend that used to repeat it back to me, you have 6 months at a job before they figure out you don't know what you're doing. And by then, you probably know what you're doing. So if you have to fly by the seat of your pants, embrace it, lean into it, go home and study that night for all the things that hit you from the side that you didn't even know was going to come at you. For our heroes, how do you support these folks? How do you build up their self-confidence when they don't know something? Perhaps if you see them floundering, could you add a couple words to help them get back on track? Could you talk to them later? Could you give them resources so that they could feel better about what they're doing? Could you reiterate something they did say, add on to it, but then give them credit for what they did add to the conversation? There's a lot of little things you can do to help somebody who's feeling imposter phenomenon. But remember, nobody's perfect. You're going to have to accept the times when you're not 100%. 80% is just going to have to do today. And your knees might need a Band-Aid or two. I like to think about Stuart Smalley. I don't know if anybody's as old as me in the room, but he used to talk to a mirror on SNL, and he would say, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. And it's true. You do belong where you are. You are worthy, and you do deserve this. Build up that confidence. Be impressed by others you see, but also acknowledge how amazing you are. How do you do battle with this? How do you build up your confidence? Does anybody have any ways that they think about some of the things that they do? How do they give themselves kudos for something they've done, or something they overcame, or being able to understand that they did know something? Okay, that was a tough one. All right, we'll come back to that one. Next up, I'm going to ask you to own your vulnerability. What do you actually fear? Of the things we talked about, of our imposter syndrome that we were feeling, the different types that exist, what do you actually fear? If you're willing to throw it in the chat, I'd love to hear it. Everyone who ran a marathon had to learn how to walk first. So my husband used to give me a phrase when I would be going into a new job or being at a location that was new to me. And he would say, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. What the heck is bothering me? So that kind of reset my brain to think about truly what is the issue. You know, it's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say, I'll return with an answer. It's okay to, you know, say the wrong thing. You just apologize and move on. So stop being afraid of all that you are, because you really are all that. When we talk about fear, I looked at some research about where does it come from? Some of it comes from your upbringing. Some it comes from the personality that you've grown into. And some of it is directly related to the situation you're in. Fear of letting those down that are around you can stem from childhood. Malcolm Gladwell has a great phrase of lose your fear of being correct. I love that. So be vulnerable and admit how you feel. I'm not saying that if you've never done it, go out and do it right now. If you want to, that's great. But think about it. Maybe say it in your head first. And then when you're more comfortable, allow vulnerability in and own it and be able to work with it. So this is for both my heroes and my imposter phenomenon feelers. Be the change. Pay it forward. Give appreciation to others that are in the room. I'm going to say generally, it's not always, but generally women tend to not like to toot their own horn, but they will gladly tell you 1,000 things about their friend that's sitting next to them, or even the person they just met in the hallway. For some reason, we love to do this. So just keep doing that. Sing the praises of others. For my heroes, who can you sing the praises of? Who can you be the ally of? Who can you call out the successes of? Whether or not they're in the room, point out something that someone has done. Women by nature are nurturers, and that comes with a greater sense of sensitivity to what others are experiencing. So there's a lot of different people in the world, but if that is what you are able to do, if it's one of your natural nuances, that's a superpower. Use empathy. I was working with a coach where we were doing an exercise where we would recall certain situations that happened. And then the request was to relive that situation from the other person's point of view. Think about how they were feeling in that situation. What could I have done differently? How could I have said something differently? Again, for our heroes, think about what you consider a success. What would that look like for others? What are some situations that you've been in that you can help someone? Maybe it's a small word. a large email, a Slack message, a text? Can you be the mentor? Can you be a coach? Could you be someone's sponsor? The nice thing about doing all these is you actually also learn something about yourself. So you can grow by helping others grow and by helping them feel stronger and more confident. Self-compassion. This is super hard for me. So I had a coach. I use these cards, compassion cards. There's 52 of them. Take a look at one once a day or maybe once a week and think about what it means to have self-compassion for yourself. I equate it to take the time to put on your own mask first. Another exercise was each day, what does self-compassion mean to me? How can I make sure that I'm taking care of myself first and my needs every day? It doesn't have to be public. It's just something for me when I'm working with folks, and practice it. Imagine if a friend said some of the words that are in your head about themselves to you. You would be horrified and you would immediately talk them out of that. So give yourself that grace. Give yourself that same love to know that that's not appropriate to yourself. Ditch that negative voice. Practice being kind. When you hear something come through your head and you've invited it to move along, can you reword it in a positive phrase? For my heroes out there, how are you holding up those that are struggling with it? Are you listening? Are you hearing the words that they're saying? Are they using humor to cover up some deep regret or fear? Lean in, ask the beautiful questions. I forgot to say there might be profanity, so I apologize. Review your language. And I don't mean this, but are you adding doubt when you don't need to? When you are talking in a crowd or even talking to a single person, be it your manager or somebody that's important to you or even somebody on your team, can you be more assertive? Can you show that you do know what you're talking about? And even if someone questions you, okay, so what? Let's have a conversation. Tell me more about what you're saying. I thought I understood it to be X, Y, and Z. Perfectly fine. Are you able to say, I have a question? Are you able to take so's and maybes and, well, maybe sort of, kind of, I might have had an idea. How do we take all those words that are not helpers so that you can just say what you need to say and that's enough? Talking about my husband a lot today, but he has another phrase for me that's always less is more, honey. So think about that when you're in a situation where you might have less confidence. Less is more. Just say the facts that need to be said, accept questions, admit when you don't know something, and then move forward. I've come back to groups where I will indicate, oh, that thing I said, remember I said that? Yeah, turns out I was wrong. You want to know what I learned? Make it fun. It's okay. Nobody's going to, string you by your toes if you were wrong. It's okay. Next up, have your support team. Have your pit crew. So this is my desktop support team, or at least was one incarnation. It looks a little different now. I keep getting new things. I think I have a baby Yoda now. So who is your support team? Who is your personal board? Who are your confidants? Who help you in the different parts that you need? Your board is going to have a lot of different types of folks. You're going to have the person that calls you out on your BS. You're going to have the person that you call when you just need a hug. Like, I don't want to talk about how I was wrong. I just want you to tell me I'm okay. You're going to have the person that has the expertise in the thing. Maybe you're learning to do X, Y, and Z, and that person is your super SME, your subject matter expert. So you're asking them to help you with the topics that you're having So your board can change daily, monthly, weekly, yearly basis, but have an idea of who can be there for whatever situation is coming up for you most. Think about the support that you need. Who would help you bury that body? I love that video of, the little meme of you call a friend and you say, wear a disguise and bring a shovel, and they come in like a sparkly unicorn thing with a shovel. I love that. That would be Marie, I think, for me. So my heroes, whose board can you be on? And I'm not saying that every single one of these my heroes have to do, but these are options for you to help the folks in your life if you're wanting to help somebody get through an episode of Imposter Phenomenon. So what is your best position? What strength can you offer to a specific person? Do they need some branding help? Do they need a connection with someone else? Any of these things. You can be the board, the sounding board, the desktop support that they need. Resilience. So just a reminder, you're not alone. There are so many people that are suffering from imposter phenomenon. You're in a not so exclusive group. There's CEOs, athletes, presidential nominees, and more. We talked about 70 to 80% of folks have imposter syndrome, up to 90. At least 70% of the workforce does. I was asked last time I did this presentation just on imposter syndrome, what about men? There's actually an article from July of this year that more men are experiencing imposter phenomenon. But as you can guess, us women, we talk about it more. So that's why it looks like it's a women problem. It's really just a people problem. And it's not a problem. It's a feeling. It's a thought that's going through your head, and you're going to invite it to move along, right? Some of the folks that have had this and admit to it are former First Lady Michelle Obama, Tom Hanks, Sheryl Sandberg, Supreme Justice Sonia Sotomayor, and Serena Williams, she's come out a little bit more during some of the matches that have happened. So remember, you, my people, my friends, you're not alone. There's a lot of other people that are feeling the things you're feeling. I want to remind you to believe in yourself, to believe in what's possible, to remove those limits on yourself and your capabilities. Just see where you can go. Don't let fear control you or take you off of that desired path. And remember that you never know how someone else is seeing you. That's where your board can come in. You can ask them, how am I coming across? What are you seeing? What does it say to you? Remember that fear can hold you back, but I offer you not to let it hold you back. Go for those possibilities. Don't let it rob the world of your talents. So imposter phenomenon is a mountain, and there's a ton of false summits, and there's a ton of valleys where you're feeling A-okay. You've got the expertise, you've done the research, you are the one that knows all the things. So there's a few little tips and tricks that can help you get better. Just don't forget to breathe. Don't hold your breath. Breathe. Breathe it in. Breathe it out. Do Wonder Woman poses. Do 4 counts. There's any number of things just to keep the breath moving. I like to offer you to keep an accomplishments list. And this doesn't have to be shared with anybody. And it can be, on the left, I have added 2 rounds of twine to that world's biggest ball of twine. That's me. It could also be, did you get all your socks folded? Woo! That was really holding me back. Did you empty the dishwasher? Way to go. Is it something a little bit bigger? Did you, finish something for your boss that you said you would? And this is for you. So how can this be useful to you? You can go back to this list when you're having a day. Are you feeling melancholy? Are you feeling like a failure? Are you feeling that you never get anything done and you're never right and everything's wrong? Take a look at this list. Look at all the things that you've done. So I have a calendar event for like Thursdays at noon. Spend about 5 minutes just writing some stuff down, just every week. It doesn't have to be things you share. The other thing that I like to do with this list is it's become a list. So if I have to have a meeting with my manager, it has become just items that have happened. These are my accomplishments, and it's just my list. So I can take one or two off that list, share it with him at the next one-on-one, and it's nothing that I have to be scared about. It's nothing that I have to feel that I'm being a fraud about. It's just something that happened. Cool. Understand your value. Where are your non-negotiables? What are you holding yourself back from? How about you reread that resume? I bet there's some cool stuff in there. What about LinkedIn? If it matches your resume, same cool stuff. It's a little different, great. Phone a friend. Ask yourself, will this matter in a year, in 5 years? Or is it just holding you back today? Keep learning and sharing. Do not compare yourself to someone else. You are you, they are they, and you're each moving forward. If you do have a failure, just learn from it. It's okay. Understand your weaknesses. Figure out a way to improve. Did I say learning? Always keep learning. What about you? What are some of the things that you like to do when you're having a moment, when you're having an imposter phenomenon moment? What helps you get out of your funk?
I posted in chat a little while ago. So I was 30 going to engineering school. Like, what was I doing there? I was a speech therapist, right? Like, what? But bottom line, I kept saying, if they can do it, I can do it. Because you look around and they're all doing it. And what makes them so special that they're so different than me? They're normal people. So I chanted that for this 5-year program I was in. So if they can do it, I can do it. And yeah, so I wanted to throw that out there, because if you just keep saying that to yourself, I mean, I had no business being an electrical engineer, but hello, I got through, you know. So bottom line, you just got to keep saying that. Everybody else is doing it. Like, and nobody's noticing that I wasn't as, maybe I kept saying I was not as smart as these people. See, there's my imposter syndrome. But I wasn't as smart, but I did it anyhow. So I still have imposter syndrome, obviously, but yeah, if they can do it, so just chant that every day.
I love that. All right. So I just talked about some things that you can do for yourself. So it's just a itemized list here. But then we also have a list for our heroes. You also can breathe. that can help you do what you need to do and move forward. But use your voice. We talked about practicing when it's not as important. Just make it part of your everyday. See somebody that's struggling, add to their day. Praise when appropriate. I like to point out praise can be useful, but some people don't like to be recognized in public. So just make sure you understand how this person likes to be praised and appreciated, and move forward in that manner. Be the sounding board. Be open to hearing things, with the caveat of, we're not going to gossip, but I'm going to hear what's happening to you. I'm going to ask the questions. I'm going to help you move forward in what you're feeling. Be the pit crew. Be the support team. Be the board. Confirm when someone completes, so that they know that you recognize that something is done. For our Agile folks, definition of done: did we make it? Woo! Are we celebrating our successes? Are you helping somebody understand that they should be celebrating those successes? Are you setting expectations so that they know that they're done? Are you curious to what they're feeling and why they might be feeling that? And then pay it forward. And that's for everybody. Just pay it forward. So there's a poem that I'm going to read to you. I was going to put it on the screen, but it's a lot of words, so I gave you pretty flowers instead. So it's by Melanie Colarus. Life is short. We spend so much time sweating the small stuff, worrying, complaining, gossiping, wishing, wanting, and waiting for something bigger and better, instead of focusing on all the simple blessings that surround us every day. Life is fragile, and it only takes a moment to change everything that you take for granted if you're not focusing on what's important. Be grateful, live your life, and leave no regrets. So I'll leave you with that phrase. So thank you. I appreciate you all listening, sharing when you were able to, and I'm open for questions. If you want to reach out on LinkedIn or join me on my blog, happy to have you. So thank you all for being here.
Does anybody have any questions? Any comments? Anybody want to share a story, what they heard or know about imposter syndrome? Or famous people in the chat?
It was a long list. I just took, a couple that I thought were interesting. In the realm of how to get better, I'm also looking for, what didn't you hear that you were hoping you would hear? So what didn't you get out of this that you were hoping to get? So feel free to let Marie know or reach out directly to me. If you do need more resources, I'm going to put the deck someplace that Marie is going to share the link. And there's about 2 pages of a bibliography of things that I read and dove too much into.
I'll probably send an email out to the folks that RSVP'd, and I'll share that link there just so we make sure we're on the right page here. So we do it that way instead of putting in the chat like we talked about. So.
Sure. All good.
Yeah. And anybody want to share? Hey, I was hoping to hear this, or because it really is helpful, or something that mattered, that like a point that really hit home with you. It's always good to help speakers modify, or add. Let me see. Folks are talking about things being easy and then suddenly being hard resonates with me. Times are tough, but it often feels like a personal failure, which is so true. That's a great reminder for me, yeah, which is very, very true. Lori, you're asking about being in a group. Just go to Agile Denver North and join. That's the best way to do it. Anybody else have any comments? Jamie, you want to share your thought? You don't have to. Don't want to put you on the spot.
Ooh. Don't be mean, Marie. Don't add to the stress.
He had. I know. So sorry. I thought he might, but that's not. No big deal. What else? Yeah, I think that's all I see, though. Yeah. Actually, I thought Jamie's story was cool, so I'm just gonna read it. It's in the chat, right? I just didn't want to screw it up. There's a really cool story about Neil Gaiman put out about imposter syndrome, because I always crucify words, so I was kind of going, and then I said, hey, you want to share? Okay, I'm not sure I can remember all the details, but he was at this event and struck up a conversation with another Neil. Both were feeling out of place and talking about all the amazing people in the room. The other Neil was Neil Armstrong. I just thought that was cool, There's everybody, people just all feeling the same way. Not worthy, but when they are. So
I almost have gotten to the Agile Denver North. All right, here we go.
All right, first man on the moon feeling imposter syndrome. I love it.
Yeah. I want to thank you all for coming. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate you being here. Felt good.
And I think maybe I should do it again in case you let me go back to the chat. I did put a link in there to our FAQ. And again, If you're with Scrum Alliance, you want to make sure that you get your SEUs for this. I think this is it. So I'm going to put the link again. It's to our FAQ, but in there, amongst other stuff that we have there, you can get the link that goes directly for November. Sound good?
Sounds fantastic.
All right.
Thank you, Marie.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nicole. You were kind of voluntold, but definitely with an enthusiasm volunteered, because I know that the last time we did Imposter, which was a couple of years ago, and a different conversation, but folks really kind of enjoy this because we all kind of relate to this. I think all of us. So thank you for spending your time with us without co-organizing, because I had to play both roles all night long. I'm just going to complain. No, I'm kidding. Thank you. Really appreciate that you did this. So
thank you.
All right, folks. So good night. Again, December, we're not doing a meetup. January, we're not going to do this type of meetup. Instead, we're going to post about the January Agile Denver party. And I really encourage everyone to go, because this is a real networking event. You get an opportunity to meet all kinds of people there and strike up some conversations and strike up some networking opportunities, which again is priceless, you know, especially if you're looking for a job, and, you know, you get to know people and then they get to know you, and then you're like, wait a minute, I remember so-and-so, and you kind of reach out. And so I highly encourage you to go to this in-person event, which will be held in January.